Hello everyone, it's Nina and welcome back to my channel. Today I really want to film a doing bookish things video because I love watching these, and I think it's been a decent amount of time since I did one on my channel. I maybe did it in like the middle of 2025, so we're definitely due for having like a full bookish day with a lot of fun activities. As usual, I do have a long list of things I'd like to get done for this video, so let's get right into it. First off, I wanted to do some work on my reading journal. I did my April spread last weekend, so I thought I would show you that. And then I also have to go back and add in some of the entries of books I've read in the last like 2 months or so, as well as like doing all of the updates in the trackers that I have in the beginning section for this year. So I thought we could work on those parts together later. The next thing I really want to do is some type of book craft. I recently got in my mind that I wanted to make a fabric book cover, and I think I know how to do it. I was watching a couple tutorials on YouTube, and I do think I have enough supplies that I can just kind of use up some things I already own to make it. So that is a fun craft, kind of combining my two main hobbies of sewing and reading. Another thing I can't believe I haven't done yet, considering we're like a fourth of the way through the year, is in my digital kind of like reading tracker spreadsheet, I have not set up my series tracker sheet. So I would really love to go in and work on that with you guys and get it all up to date. And for the last activity, we are going to be going book shopping. I had a $5 reward from Barnes & Noble that was kind of like burning a hole in my pocket, so I thought I would take you along as I go to pick up a new release that I've been really excited to get to. So yeah, that is what we have planned for this video. I think to start off, I actually already went to Barnes, so let's go ahead and roll some of that B-roll and then I can show you the book I got, as well as talk about some of the other books on my immediate TBR. So let me show you what I've done so far in my reading journal. I'm gonna get up. This is the spread I did for April. I did something quite different than my usual design. I did a couple people do this like print out a design of like a pattern from Pinterest and then build on top of that. So I decided to do that for my April kind of like monthly layout. I really liked how it turned out, very like bright and springy. And I got to use a couple stickers I thought were very relevant, like the two Pokemon ones, this one of like the Slowpoke and the Ditto. Obviously, with Pokopia coming out, Ditto has been very relevant and top of mind for a lot of people. And then I just also used a couple like different sticker sheets that I already had that were just general springy, like these like bunny ones with the flowers, these other flower stickers. And then these like two bows are actually just photos I had found on Pinterest and then printed out and glued in. I think this looks really cute. If I end up reading more than the books over here, I think I'll probably just add another smaller bookshelf like up in this section. But I think it's looking really cute and I'm really happy and super excited to get into using this. Besides that, I do have a couple like empty spreads from March ahead of time that I need to go ahead and fill in. And then I want to like kind of go through some of the like earlier tracking spreads in my journal and see if there's anything I have to fill in. So that's what we're going to be working on next. Okay, so let me show you the book I ended up getting from Barnes. You probably have seen this in my spring reset video, but I picked up Apparently Sir Cameron Needs to Die by Greer Stothers. I found this book initially through the author posting about it on Tumblr, some fan art that they had gotten commissioned, and it seemed really interesting and very up my alley. So I decided to go ahead and buy it instead of like waiting for it to come from my library, especially because I think the first edition has this like beautiful foiling as well as this like sprayed edge design. I just thought it looked really cool. Very much has like medieval fantasy rom-com energy. So I'm very excited to get into this. I actually just checked before I started filming, and this book is actually available through my library on Libby. So I'm going to place hold for the audiobook, so hopefully I can kind of like tandem read or alternate between the two different modes once my hold for that comes up. So this is a book that's kind of in my pretty immediate TBR. In addition to Apparently Sir Cameron Needs to Die, I thought I would show you some of the other books that are on my immediate TBR, as well as the books that I'm currently in the middle of reading. I have to say I have been a little unmotivated to read lately. It's really that I've just like been focused on other forms of media right now. As I'm recording this video, Alistair just came out in Duel Links, so let's just say I've been a little bit preoccupied. I mentioned in my spring reset video that I had just started the 5th volume of Heaven Official's Blessing, and that I was only like a chapter and a half into it. And yeah, I'm still reading it, and I basically have made no progress since then. And I filmed that other video like 3 weeks ago now. So it's going to be a very long stretch of time that I'm reading the 2 volumes of this for my eventual reading vlog. But it's still okay, because I'm definitely not going to DNF this. I really do want to read more of this book. I just haven't had a lot of time, in addition to also not being super motivated to read. The things that I've been picking up instead have been a lot of volumes of manga, as well as a nonfiction book that I can listen as an audiobook on my way to work. For the manga, I am making more progress in reading Dr. Stone. I have volumes 12 and 13 here. These are the last 2 volumes I had checked out from the library. I read up to volume 10 for my last reading vlog, which is probably the video that came out right before this. And I think I'm going to take maybe a tiny bit of a pause after I finish these 2 volumes to work on some of my other physical TBR books, and then jump back into reading the like second half of the series. And then the nonfiction book I've been reading on my way to work has been Connected. This has like 2 different subtitles I've seen. This edition says how your friends affect everything you feel, think, and do. But I've also seen the like byline of the surprising power of social networks or something else to kind of like give better context for what this book is about. I am really enjoying this. As you can see, I'm almost halfway through. And I've also started tabbing some of the things that I had bookmarked while listening to the audiobook, like going back into the physical copy and finding those parts and adding tabs to them. This is a nonfiction book written by 2 professors that talks about the power of social networks. And for general context, this book was originally written in 2009. In today's day and age, I feel like whenever I hear the word social network, I think of like social media and online social networks, but they're talking much more about like real world, somewhat face-to-face social networks. Although they do very, very briefly mention the like existence of MySpace and Facebook. I have been really enjoying reading this. I kind of like a random, very specific topic for my nonfiction books. This one does jump around to a couple different topics that I didn't necessarily know were going to be focused when we first got into it, but I think this is the perfect type of nonfiction book for my wife to read. I was telling her about some of the stuff that was in it, and also like the structure of the book, bouncing around to a bunch of different kind of related topics, which is very similar to Mary Roach's style of writing, which is one of my wife's favorite nonfiction authors. So I think she's really going to enjoy this when she picks it up. Probably once I finish it, I'll hand it off to her and she can maybe combo listen to the audiobook on Hoopla as well as read it physically. This is also a book I ended up picking out specifically because we found it through a library like fill-a-bag sale. So even though I guess I kind of picked this out specifically for my wife to read, I'm reading it as well and really enjoying it. I feel like since I've been so focused on like other forms of media that are very like narrative focused, it's kind of nice to focus on a nonfiction book where like narrative and characters is not the main thing you're focusing on. Also, going back to the TBR section in my reading journal, the last book I was hoping to get to sometime this spring and hopefully now in April is Fun Home by Alison Bechdel. That focuses on Alison's life, both her childhood as well as her college years, and her kind of like tumultuous relationship with her father. I think most of the childhood years are also focused on the fact that her family ran a funeral home that her and her brothers called the Fun Home. I'm really excited to read this book because actually later today we are going to be going to see a somewhat local production of the musical that is based on this comic. Ideally, if I had a little bit more forethought, I would have read this before we went to see the musical, but I actually have found that I kind of actually prefer watching an adaptation before reading the source material. So hopefully, if I really enjoy the musical, that will give me a lot more motivation to pick this up sooner rather than later. And yeah, that's just like kind of a quick look at some of the books on my immediate TBR. I do have a couple other books that are kind of like floating around on Hoopla and on Libby that I might have holds come up for soon. But I think this month is really going to be one focused on finishing books I'm in the middle of, as well as series that I want to make more progress in. So these are the books I'm going to be focusing on for the immediate future. Okay, so we are now going to work on doing my series tracker spreadsheet. I think I'm going to pop myself into the corner so you can see my screen as I work on it. So here's what we have for my series tracker so far. As you can see, I've literally written down 2 things, which is just the first and second part of Dr. Stone. Dr. Stone isn't really broken up into part 1 and 2, but this spreadsheet only allows me to do like 15 entries at a time. And there's 26, I think, main volumes of the story of Dr. Stone and then 1 extra. So for this one, I just decided to like break it up in half with the first 13 and then second 13 volumes. I wrote a quick list on my phone of some of the series that I need to track. And I also opened up Storygraph on my iPad so I could like double check exactly how many books are in each of the series. So yeah, I think with that all said, let's get right on into working on this. Okay, so I think I have pretty much everything I want to track right now listed out in my spreadsheet. So I thought we could go through really quick and mark off some of the progress I've made in the series that I have tracked here. First off, we have Heaven Official's Blessing. I read the first 4 volumes of this, so I'm basically halfway through. Sugar and Vice, I've read the first book. I own the second one, and the third one is not out yet, but I'm hoping that I can complete this series by the end of the year, because I'm definitely going to read the second and third book, hopefully in like quick succession of the third one releasing. Serpent and Dove, I read the first 2 books. I really would like to get some time this year to read the third book, because I feel like I've had it on so many like monthly TBRs and just not committed to finishing it. Empyrean, which is the series that Fourth Wing is in, I've read the first 3 books, and there's kind of like no word on when the 4th book is going to be coming out. The Barton series is one that I'm not like obsessed with. I think it was also called 13th Century Oxfordshire, but they changed the, I guess, official name, at least on Storygraph. But it's a book that I really do want to finish out and read the 3rd book because it looks like something that's very up my alley. Dark Rise, I've read the first 2 books and the 3rd one is not out yet. Hoping that the 3rd one gets announced to be released sometime by the end of 2026 so that I can finish off that series. Locked Tomb, I am also up to date. I've read the first 3 books and the 4th one. We still have no idea when it is coming out. And Abhorsen, I've read the first 3 books. Technically, there might be 4/5 books in the series because there's the 2 prequel books, Clariel and I think Terciel and Eleanor is the name of the other one. And then there is the sequel book, Golden Hand. I'm counting like the main books that have come out, kind of excluding Terciel and Eleanor, because even though I own that book, I don't know if I'm ever going to read it. My main priority is just reading Clariel and Golden Hand because those are the ones I think that came out relatively close to one another. And then the Vampire Chronicles, I've read the first 3 books. I meant to read Tale of the Body Thief, which is the 4th book, sometime last year, but I just kind of ran out of time. This is another one where I don't think I'm going to read all 13 books in the series because I know there's at least 2 of them that you technically can skip because the characters that are focused on in those books don't really have any relevance to the main characters and like the main overarching plot. Oh, that's actually not true. I've also read the 12th book in the series, which is Prince Lestat, which was kind of the like revitalization of the series. Actually, I'm a liar. It's the 11th book in the series because then it's Prince Lestat and the Realms of Atlantis, and then I think Blood Communion is the last one. So I did kind of like jump into a random book, but I figured since it was kind of like almost a reboot or like relaunching of the series, it was fine if I read that one kind of out of order since I knew everything that was relevant going up into it. And the last 2 ones I have here are not like specific series, but like backlists I want to focus on. For Rachel Reed, I have only 2 books of hers that I have not yet read, one of which is not out yet. Those books being The Shots You Take and then Unrivaled. Unrivaled was supposed to come out in 2026, but it's been pushed into June of 2027, which is totally fine. I do not mind waiting for the last part in Shane and Ilya's story. And then the other author that I really want to work on the backlist is Cat Sebastian. This one I haven't actually filled out yet because I want to go through her Storygraph listing of all the books she's written a little bit more and decide how many I want to read. There's definitely at least, I want to say like 4 books of hers that I've had my eye on, but there might honestly be more that I'm just not aware of. I want to read as many of Cat Sebastian's books as possible because I really do want to do kind of like a big ranking of all of her books that I've read because I think she's probably not only one of the authors I've read the most from, but she's also an author I feel like that aligns with a lot of what I really like in books. And like some of my favorite books of all time have been books that she's written. Plus obviously she's like one of the like main pillars in the queer historical romance community. So I definitely want to work on reading more of her books. I just realized I forgot about one, so let me just add this in really quick. We have the Tarot Sequence. This is, I think, a 10-book series, but only the first 3 are out, and I've read all of them. And the 4th book is coming out in, I think, June or July of 2026, which I am so excited for. Oh my gosh. This is definitely a book I really need to pre-order because I love the first 3 so much. They were definitely like a highlight of last year. Okay, I think that might be everything. I'm going to double check the list I have on my phone. Yeah, that's everything I had written down here. I'm sure I'm probably like glaringly missing something, but I'm pretty happy with how this is looking so far. So here's a look at what I have for my finished spreadsheet. as you saw, I was working on sewing my fabric book covers. This is the first one I made. I just used some cute like navy gingham fabric I had. And then for the lining, I was trying to use up some other random cotton that I had used for a cosplay project. This one actually turned out really good. I do think I maybe made it a little bit too small width-wise, so some of the thicker paperback books I have, I feel like are a little bit pushing it in terms of how well they actually fit inside of it. But I think it looks really good. And because it turned out so good and I felt like it was a very easy project, I decided to make a second one. This one, however, I feel like didn't turn out as good. It definitely is much cuter. As you can see, I decided to decorate the front a little bit more using this like applique I had as well as some ribbon. And I used this really cute pink gingham fabric that I had. However, this one, I think because I decided to add some like batting in between the two layers, just to give it more of an actual like protective quality, since this one is very thin. But because I added the batting in, it ended up making, I think, the seams a little bit bulkier, so it can't fit the same standard paperback that this one does, even though they technically are using the same dimensions. However, this one does fit manga pretty well, the like slightly shorter standard size of manga. So right now I just have my like volume of Dr. Stone in here. Yes, technically then the cover is backwards, since obviously you read manga from left to right instead of right to left. But I still think it is really cute. I guess I just know for next time to extend the overall height to be beyond what I had initially put down to make it fit a standard paperback size book. But I do really like the batting being added in. I feel like it adds a lot to the overall design and like functionality of the book cover. So I'm glad that this still can like function in some way, just not necessarily for the size of book that I initially intended. However, I was kind of thinking that I did want to make one that would fit manga size volumes. So I guess this is just kind of like a happy accident that this is the one that's going to be used for that purpose. I did also extend the overall width, so I think if I read one of those like 3-in-1 volumes of manga, that will probably be like the perfect use case for this, since I do have a lot more space like spine width-wise for those volumes to fit in here. So I'm really happy with this little DIY. It was very easy to do. I feel like I spread my sewing out over like 2 weeks just because of other things I had going on, but this is definitely a project you could finish within the course of like a day. So with that project all completed, we are now at the end of this video. I hope you guys enjoyed spending some time with me as we did a bunch of bookish things together. If you enjoyed this video, consider liking, commenting, or subscribing if you aren't already. Consider following me on the Storygraph if you'd like to see my reading updates in real time, as well as on my Bookstagram, both of which are linked in the description. And that is going to be it for me today. And I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye!